So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to fix that bug that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to change this back to password 1, and in order to get around the issue of that displaying password 1 on the actual page when the form is rendered, I'm just going to give a label just like I did for the password confirmation field. And I'm just going to say password. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to do a carriage return to just drop these arguments down, just down a level, like just clean up the code. And then we can go ahead and save that. The next thing that we want to implement is some form validation. But let's take a look first at our form as it currently stands. We've gotten rid of our additional password field, and we have a form here that we can go ahead and we can fill in. We can see we have some basic validation here. But let's go ahead and fill out this form and see what happens. Given that this is a registration form, we should in theory end up with a new user being created. So if I enter an email address of aaron@codeinstitute.net, I give a username of aaron2, just to differentiate, and then I'll enter in a password. And I'll confirm my password. And the form has been submitted and has been emptied out. But did it create a new user? Let's log in as an admin user and go into the admin panel and check. So I'm going to enter my admin username and password, and then I'm going to head over to /admin. Inside of the admin panel, I click on users, and we can see that we still only have one user in here, which means that our form isn't yet creating a new user for us. So how do we do that? I'm going to head over to my accounts /registration page. Firstly, accounts /register. We'll be able to see now what we need to do is we need to implement some form validation. And the way Django handles this is it takes a form, and any form object that contains a clean underscore field name method, it will use that method to clean that field or validate that field. So clean underscore email will allow us to clean the email field, and it will expect us to return the email once we're done. So we can do this by passing in the self object, and the self contains the clean data this data has been cleaned by Django. It's the clean data that we would use when we use the .isValid method, and these are called as a result. So we get the email by doing self.cleanData email, and we do the same for username. And then what we do is we do a filter to check to see if we have someone in the database with that email address already. And if we do, then we return a validation error to say that the email address must be unique. After that, we just return the email. Next thing we want to do is we want to do the same thing for the password field. So we want to say clean password, and we're going to do this for password 2. And I'm going to pass through self. Typo there, which I'll catch in a moment. So what I want to do is password 1 is equal to self.cleanData.get password 1. And then we want to do the same for password 2. So password 2 is equal to self.cleanData.get and password 2. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to check to see if either of those are none. So if it's not password 1 or not password 2, then we want to throw an error to say that we need to enter in both both passwords, so password 1 and password 2. And we raise a validation error here to say both passwords. Let me see. Please confirm your password. And then what we want to do is we want to do a check to see if password 1 and password 2 are actually equal. So if password 2 is not equal to password, if password 1 is not equal to password 2, then we need to raise a validation error to say that the password must match. And then at the end, we just return password 2. Okay, and I just need to fix my error there. Okay. Once that's done, then I can go ahead and I can refresh the page. And if I submit this form that doesn't contain, we'll pop in some dummy information. The HTML5 validation will handle a lot of it, but not all of it. And that's how we validate our forms in Django. Next up, we'll take a look at actually storing that user information to create a new user in the database.